I'm Marie Tomlinson Lewey. I was born in Jackson, Alabama, which is Clark County. For fun, I say I'm from LA, Lower Alabama. I came to Muscle Shoals hoping to have a big career as a country music singer. I heard about Muscle Shoals through my brother-in-law, Dennis Homan. He was an All-American under Bear Bryant. He hails from Muscle Shoals. His brother Jerry, at that time, took coffee around to all the studios. And he was very nice to drop off a few cassettes of me. And so I was, at some point, I had an audience with some significant people in town. It was pretty intimidating talking to Rick Hall. I look back on that conversation. I have looked back on it in recent years, and it was more profound than I realized at the time. But he listened to my material, and he said, "This is good. This is really good. But so what?" And so I was not, and so I don't know. I didn't have a thought in my brain as to what to say to Rick Hall. And, I must have just looked stunned. And he said, "Because are you writing? What's your plan? How hard are you willing to work?" And he just started, I felt like he was just firing some very good questions at me that I didn't have the answers for. And I realized that that was for my good, and to take that type of feedback seriously would help me. I began background singing. I had a strong ear, played with and sang with my daddy all the time in church and everywhere. And so my ear was very attuned to harmony. And so quickly I started doing session work thanks to Ava Aldridge. Lenny LeBlanc became a dear friend, as did Ava. Taught me some things, but I would say 18, but I'll try to be conservative and say at 19 years old, I was doing a major recording session at Fame with Lenny for Rick Hall. The Music Mill for me was where I learned even more about the recording process. I was given more opportunities there, that had both its disadvantages because it wasn't necessarily one of the top studios in town, but it gave a young girl like me a wonderful team of people to work with. I feel like they really did take me under their wing because I was so young. We all have a tendency to do that. Like, you poor little thing, have you eaten today? Kind of that stuff. And so they wonderfully took me under their wing. Al Carty was the person that I signed with. He was a wonderful motivator. He made me believe more in myself than maybe anyone I've ever worked with. From there, I was called on to do sessions at Fame, again, thanks to my friend Lenny LeBlanc. I believe there was someone, as there usually is, that couldn't be there that day. Somebody got sick, So I might have been the substitute, and I think Lenny convinced Rick that it would be okay. And I only got in trouble for one thing that day, and that was saying "sir" to him. Rick was younger then. He didn't want to. He said he didn't want to feel like a grandpa. And then Wishbone. Wishbone was a wonderful training ground for me. Terry Woodford and Clayton Ivey conducted some of the most amazing sessions I have ever witnessed. I couldn't believe the brilliance of it all. To sit on that black Naugahyde couch at such an early age, in between vocal overdubs that we did, were some of the most musically thrilling moments of my life. And all the genres that they covered, it was amazing. That was just something I didn't even know how to write home about. The two singers that I was associated with at that point in my life the most were Barbara Wyrick and Susie Storm. They were writers and also had some projects going on themselves at Wishbone. So again, I was taken into this group of people who I got to sing harmony with. In that group, I sang the high part. And we had a really soft sound. It was a totally different sound. It was soulful, but it was It had a texture that was kind of soft. We didn't do a lot of belting. So that was kind of natural to me. But when Ava and Cindy and I ended up forming a sound together, I had to learn how to do some different things that I'd never done before. I had to pull from another sound in my voice that I didn't do much as that folksy country singer I was. So, Ava Aldridge. I'm going to try not to cry. I miss her so much. Ava was like that maternal influence in the music community for the people who were just getting started and needed to believe in themselves like I did, or people who had maybe lost their footing in life or their music career. She would do the same for them. She would remind them who they were and why they were so wonderful and how they just had to keep trying because you never knew, what was going to happen. She had a big laugh, a big contagious laugh, and she smiled all the time. She had a beautiful voice, a great ability to write songs, and there are others who wrote a lot with her that can speak to that. Cindy Richardson Walker wrote a lot with her. My dear friend Lenny LeBlanc wrote a lot with her. Lenny will say to this day that she, I think, remains his favorite writing partner of all time. The Alabama Music Hall of Fame induction banquets that Cindy and Ava and I were so honored and had such a thrill to be a part of that happened every other year. It was amazing to be standing there singing "The Heat Is On" with Glenn Frey. And Ava was large in personality and large in size. And I remember being on that little stage, and I remember feeling it moving up and down because Ava liked to move, and so she was moving to "The Heat Is On." And she was so animated, and sometimes we would just try not to look at her because we'd start laughing. Getting to work with Ronnie Millsap for the majority of 7 years is certainly a highlight of my career. It's the one that most people talk about. There was an annual Muscle Shoals Music Association seminar held at Joe Wheeler State Lodge. But on this particular night, Lenny LeBlanc was opening for the amazing Rhythm Aces. And so Cindy and Ava and I were singing for Lenny, singing backup for Lenny. And Millsap's producer, Rob Galbraith, was there. And Rob heard us and went back and told Ronnie, he said, I know you're looking for something new. These girls have got it. And unfortunately, Ava couldn't go. Cindy couldn't go on the road. So I reached out to Barbara Wyrick and Susie Storm, the other two that I sang with at Wishbone. They had just gotten off an Engelbert Humperdinck tour, and they were not at all attracted to country music. But I begged them, and won out. But we did 2 shows to find out if we were the right fit for him and if we wanted to do this tour. We knew the songs, we rehearsed for it, we were dressed right for the show, but we're out there and Millsap gets up from his piano and he ventures out to the side of the stage. I was just amazed that a blind man would do this, and I'm afraid he's going to hurt himself. And I jump over the monitors. It was just automatic. I jump over the monitors and I go running and to grab him. And I realized that the joke's on me because he's got a toe board there. He always does. He's doing this to shock the audience, but I was also shocked. And so Rob told Millsap after the show what I did, and he just about cried. He was laughing so hard. And he said, Ronnie, it was something really magical. And Ronnie said, well, I felt it, and I love their voices. So from then on, we were with him. But that night, when the girls saw the bunks in the buses, now remember, they had just come off an Engelbert Humperdinck tour. I mean, you have nice cars taking you everywhere, and you fly everywhere. You stay in the most wonderful hotels worldwide, and they're looking at bunks. And I won't tell you exactly how they put it, but I was pretty sure there was no way I was going to be able to talk them into going. And I said, if you'll just do this for 6 months, just 6 months. They said, all right. Barbara and Susie and I were coming from a style of music that Millsap's other background singers had not. And so when we were doing so many of his songs, not the real country ones, but he was always on the edge, the cutting edge of new sounds. And He pulled a lot out of Muscle Shoals. When we got on the bus with him, we were handing him demos from all over town, and he cut a lot of them. A lot of things I've talked about today are in the past, but there's just so much going on currently that we're excited about. Just got through working with Steven Tyler, a lot of buzz about that from Aerosmith, and two of the members of Extreme. These guys are very gracious and friendly, but I will tell you that when we walked in that room and we were talking with them and they were trying to give us our parts, I know there had to be just a little bit of doubt that these three women looked like they just, left a clerical job, at the hospital or something to come over here and do background vocals. I mean, look at me, Sandy, Carla. I mean, do we look like we can bring it? I don't think so. They had to have been just like sweating bullets, because when we started singing that chorus, and we're just all belting out, and doing it, arms flew up in the air. They hit the talkback mic and said, "Yeah, are you kidding me? What?" We thought, "So do you like it?" Which they did.